Alright everyone, it's been about 2 weeks since the developers conference took place, and I wanted to let some time pass to allow the reality distortion field to dissipate, as well as to let some developers break their non-disclosure agreements and leak screenshots and rumors to the websites. So today I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on Mac OS X Snow Leopard. One of the first things you'll see on Snow Leopard's webpage is the ability to address up to 16 terabytes of physical memory. While more memory is always a good thing in terms of computing, I don't think it requires the release of a whole new operating system to enable this support. In fact, a lot of the heavy lifting for 64-bit has already been enabled when Apple was working on Leopard. At last year's developers conference, they mentioned that 64-bit technology was enabled through all of the frameworks from the command line, going all the way through the graphical frameworks such as the Cocoa UI. So in fact, 64-bit is already pretty much enabled in Leopard, and all I think they would have to do is just change a couple of pointers in the kernel to enable the new physical address space to be extended from the current memory limit to 16 terabytes. This should be something that ought to be included in the point release of the OS, rather than having to wait a full year and possibly spend money on an upgrade. In addition to that, only the most high-end of Apple machines are going to be able to take advantage of this. Systems such as Mac Pros, iMacs, MacBook Pros, and MacBook Airs currently have no access to large amounts of memory. For instance, the current memory ceiling on the iMac and MacBook Pro is 4 gigabytes. It's only the Mac Pro, the large tower systems, that has support for up to 32 gigabytes where this type of situation would apply. And as we've already seen, Leopard already has the ability to support 32 gigabytes of RAM. So, while certainly interesting, and it's a nice number to look at on the web page, I don't think it really amounts to much unless you're going to buy a new machine, a new high-end Apple machine, after the release of Snow Leopard comes out. If you already have an existing system, it's probably not going to be able to take advantage of this large amount of memory. So, in this sense, it doesn't justify upgrading to a new OS. One of the goals of Snow Leopard is to reduce the overall footprint of Mac OS X so it can be scaled to fit on lower capacity solid-state flash drives, such as what's available in the iPhone and MacBook Air. Apple Insider goes on to publish a graph showing the space savings in applications installed on Snow Leopard compared to the current version of Mac OS version 10.5. The most dramatic of these examples can be seen in Mail, which goes from 287 megabytes on disk down to 91 megabytes. While Apple does a pretty good job at slimming down the size of their applications, I'm actually able to do a better job on my own by using free applications such as Trim the Fat and getting rid of language files. By using those applications, I was able to get my copy of Mail down to 7.6 megabytes on disk, which is still a hell of a lot better than 91 megs that's going to be available in Snow Leopard. In fact, when the initial announcement of universal binaries came out, I thought Apple was going to approach it in a different way. The way me and my friends were thinking that it was going to happen was that the installer would only put the actual machine code that's necessary for your machine. So for instance, when you install a package from a disk image, the installer would be smart enough to say that it's running on an Intel machine, and therefore only install the Intel bits that's needed for your system. Blindly putting on PowerPC and x86 code in an application bundle is not the most efficient way to do it, and I really wish Apple would just work on the installer and make it more intelligent to only put on machine code that your machine is actually going to use. Snow Leopard also introduces Grand Central, a set of technologies that makes OS X multi-core aware and better optimizes it for allocating tasks across multiple processors. Grand Central also makes it easier for developers to write better, multi-threaded applications, which in turn means that individual applications in the future will better harness the power of multiple cores on a single chip. I think Grand Central is important to the growth of OS X in the future, but I'm not sure how much systems of today would benefit from this technology. It seems to me that Grand Central is optimized for systems with 4 or more cores, and in fact, just about every system Apple ships only has 2 cores built in. The only exceptions to this are the Mac Pro and Xserve. Everything else from the Mac Mini to iMac currently only has 2 processor cores. And truth be told, OS X is actually pretty well optimized when working with 2 cores, as well as individual applications such as Compressor, QuickTime, iTunes, and iPhoto. All of them do a really good job of using 2 cores effectively, so I'm not sure how much more performance Grand Central would be able to squeeze out of systems with only 2 cores. Snow Leopard is supposed to introduce QuickTime X, a new version of QuickTime that's supposed to support modern codecs and more efficient media playback. Hopefully that means I can play back XVID, WMV, and DivX files without having to download things such as Parian or Videoland Player. Right now, QuickTime is almost useless without those extra third-party applications installed. So hopefully Apple is working out the licensing agreements to include those third-party codecs into QuickTime 10. And I hope it makes it in there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't get included. Finally, Apple is supporting OpenCL, which makes it possible for developers to write GPU-specific applications. Hopefully, in the future, programs such as Photoshop, Final Cut Studio, or Lightroom will be able to take advantage of the GPU to substantially increase the speed of their applications and operations. My one concern with OpenCL is that you'll have to buy a new video card or potentially a new system to take advantage of this. So hopefully Apple is going to code this properly so that it'll work on older systems and older graphics cards as well. I think Snow Leopard has a lot of potential, but at the same time I don't think Apple has the right to ask for another $129, when in fact there are still issues that need to be fixed in macOS version 10.5. In fact, I don't think users of current systems today are going to see much of a benefit should they decide to upgrade to Snow Leopard. Things such as 16 terabytes of memory, OpenCL, and Grand Central multi-core support only seems beneficial to systems that are going to be released next year when Snow Leopard comes out. And because Leopard is still relatively new, I think Apple should cut users a break and only ask for a $29 to $49 upgrade fee to go from Leopard to Snow Leopard. So those are just my opinions on the upcoming release of macOS version 10.6, and that's about it. Alright, peace.